Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do first impressions on these 5 knives. First, I want to say a big thank you to Joe over at Lancelot Leather. He actually sent me this mat right here as a sort of holiday gift. I just got it the other day, and it's basically just like my other mat, except doesn't have the disassembly compartment and the coaster, and the logo is a little bit bigger on here. So I'll probably be switching back and forth depending on what I'm doing and what I have out, but I've been using this one for work as well. I can just put my keyboard right on top. But thank you, Joe. You are an amazing dude. He's been a great guy to get to know this year. We kind of embarked on the disassembly mat process together and designed it, and it has taken off for him. He has done disassembly mats for so many people, and I'm very, very proud of the man for what he's accomplished this year. Go check out his website, lancelotleather.com. There's actually a link down below in the description. I have a coupon code, Lefty10, for 10% off any orders on his website. So anything you want to pick up from Lancelot Leather, you can get 10% off with Lefty10. So win-win right there, guys. So let's get into the first impressions, right? Let me put these aside and we'll kind of work our way through these bad boys. I don't know how we should do it, if we should do it from highest to lowest. Let's start with the most expensive knife on the table. This is the Skiff Blades Drifter. This was loaned into me by my good buddy Jake over at Bearded Gear, so shout out to Jake. And I honestly thought I would love this knife so much more than I have. And it's not that it's a bad knife in any way. It's just not, it hasn't blown me away the way I thought it would. I really had it like up there with the whole haptic in terms of how I envisioned it. Just, you know, for me personally, how I perceived it. And it just hasn't really done that for me. It's an absolutely gorgeous knife. We can zoom in here and you can take a look at this incredible milling and anno work from Skiff Blades. Just looking at these pivot collars is just, it's like a mind meld. It's a mind fuck, basically. Like, where does, you know, the milling lines up so perfectly. I mean, look at that. It's incredible. That's your over travel stop as well. I believe, yep, there is a steel insert in there as well. And of course, a detent ball, all the good stuff is in there. But I mean, just look at the work they did on this. One thing that kind of seems a little bit odd to me is the relief cut being on the outside and having that hole there. It just kind of cheapens it up a little bit for me. You can see that landing pad I talked about in the unboxing right here for the clip. I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see that it's there. There's no milling under there, so very, very smart move there. There's some writing on the inside here. It says Drifter number 182. I don't see anything on this side. There isn't really any. Is there internal milling? No. They did not do any internal milling in here. You can see for lock bar access, they did a great job here with putting these nice big chamfers on each side. And gives you good access. Here's the blade. So you have a hand satin on the blade here, and then like a near mirror on the flats. And it is a Warncliffe style, sheep's footy style blade that we all love these days. Let me zoom out. And in terms of action, it's interesting. It's not as good as I was expecting. The detent is perfectly dialed. I mean, it is not going to be failed at all. It's nice and stiff, and it should be, because there's a pocket pecker sticking out here. This is a pocket pecker. Somebody told me it reminded them of a Curtis knife, which, you know, I didn't even think of that until they said that. And yes, it really does remind me of a Curtis knife. So yeah, the action's good on the deployment. It it would start to hurt after a while. So I haven't flicked this more than like 5 times in a row without putting it down for a while. It's a bit pokey on the flipper tab. It is rounded right here. So let's zoom in on that. It is rounded right here, so your finger kind of swells into it. Kind of reminds me of like how Sharp by Design does it. But just like Sharp by Design, it still ends up feeling kind of like pokey to my finger. I don't know. I'm still getting hooked by the end here, and there's no jimping to help me, get more pressure. And I don't know, I just end up kind of dragging, and then it pops. And because of the stiff detent, it just ends up hurting after a while. Sorry. So on the close, you can bypass the flipper tab by going low enough on the lock bar, and it'll drop pretty much all the way to your nail, and then it's just, nice smooth shake, and she's home. But, if you just kind of go in for it, you're going to get hit by the giant flipper tab, and then you got to do more shaking to get it down. Now, I will say it is completely smooth and sort of frictionless, when it's closing. So the pivot is very well done. I mean, let's see if you can hear anything. You can hear maybe the slightest bit of something, which is going to be the detent ball riding on the flats probably. But I just expected it to be more drop shut. It's a real shaker, And it, for some people, that's going to be like a deal breaker like it is for me. And for other people, it's probably a welcome sight not to have it guillotine shut, to be able to do it like this, or to give it a couple of shakes home. Some people like that sort of action. I do not, right? It is dead nut centered, and it's absolutely gorgeous, guys. I mean, just look at this knife. Ergonomically, it's very comfortable in hand. It's also very comfortable in, sorry, I take pictures of cards sometimes because I don't carry them. I have a finger choil here. You do get kind of close to that edge, and it is sharp, but it hasn't affected me in any way, so I think it's fine. God damn it. Yeah, so anyway, it's a cool knife. It's just turned out not to be for me, and that's why I like to review stuff and get loaners in, because I can understand, I can get a feel for whether I would want one or not. For me, if it was between this and the Holt Haptic, I would take the Holt Haptic every time, and twice on Sunday because of the action. And honestly, I like that blade a little bit better. I like the aesthetic a little bit better. And they're about the same price, and you get better steel on the Haptic as well. So, very cool knife. That's the Skiff Drifter. I don't know if this order is going to be appropriate, but this one is the Spyderco Subvert, also sent in to me by my buddy Jake over at Bearded Gear. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. I kind of summed it up in the unboxing. It has no detent. Like literally just doesn't even seem to have a detent at all. Let's see. I'm barely doing any shaking, and it's just coming right out. Let's see if it sucks it in at all. Yeah, it's really bad. Now you can reverse flick it if you give it enough gas. God. Okay, that's it. Just don't want everybody seeing my freaking insurance cards and all types of shit. Jesus. Sorry. It's an S30V steel. It's a big bruiser of a knife. It's basically a machete that folds up. It's a thick knife. It's a liner lock. Extremely thick knife, guys. Here's that drifter. I mean, it's like 2 drifters thick, Here's a funny comparison. This is the Nomad frame lock from Asher, which is super thin. But, like, that knife basically is 1 scale, So, this thing is just absolutely... in my opinion, this knife is atrocious. It does not need to exist. It's just, I don't know. It's It's a knife, I guess. I don't know why it has any popularity. I see people love this thing. Is it because it's goofy and it has a giant machete blade on it? I guess. That must be the reason, because it doesn't make sense to me otherwise. This one was modded by River's Edge Cutlery, I believe, for Jake. So it used to just have orange G10 scales and I believe titanium liners, or titanium accents, and now it's gray / titanium. Sorry, it's not all titanium, but it's been Cerakoted and everything, and it does have a nice satin blade finish. But yeah, this is not a knife that I wanted to carry or anything. I just wanted to try it, and I got it in and I was like, oh boy. So this is as far as this knife goes for me. You can call it an overview if you want. It's first impressions, but there will not be a review on this knife as far as I'm thinking right now anyway. Next up, we have the WE Knives Miscreant 3.0. This is loaned in by the Apex Pass Around Group. This is a Brad Zinker design, who I really like. Big fan of Brad Zinker, always have been. Just haven't really gotten any of his designs lately. Really, the only one I ever did have was the FR Flipper from Boker. The Urban Trapper's pretty cool from Boker, but, like, I'm not a fan of Boker knives. I found that out when I had the FR Flipper. They just, I just don't trust their builds. The quality is just not there, and for the price, it's a little bit odd what they're offering. So, anyway, not a fan of Boker, and he does a lot of stuff with Boker. But he has been doing some stuff with WE Civivi. He has the Miscreant. He has the bow now with Civivi. So there is some stuff out there. I did have to get a little bit of a rust spot off, and it did sort of, I guess, mess with the finish a little bit. I could find out maybe if I put a little alcohol on there, if it'll even that out. I mean, obviously, you'd rather have a little bit of a discoloration than have rust on your blade, but, neither would be nice. But anyway, just in the right light. If you look at it from my angle, you don't even see that. Anyway, it's a pretty thin stock. It's, it's kind of like a Ray Laconico, so I was saying in the unboxing, it's just a simple knife. It's just a knife design. Here's a Laconico design. This is the XLC from MBK. And, it's just a knife. It's got a drop point, and it has a handle that's super neutral with a flipper tab on it, right? It's just kind of like how I see simplistic, and I like simplistic a lot of times. This knife is not my favorite just because of all these speed holes, and they're big speed holes. Not a fan of the big speed hole. I like, if you're gonna give me speed holes, give me tiny ones so that I can't, like, stick my fingertip in there, But, if you're into that, fine. This kind of, to me, looks like a knockoff Chinese katana or something you'd buy at a gas station. That's just what those holes kind of do for it. It almost feels like it should be wrapped in some kind of cord or some shit. I did have to reset the pivot as well when I got it. So I had the rust spot, and then I had to reset the pivot because it was way off, and it was sitting proud of the scale. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to sit inside the scale there. I Loctited it, so it's all good to go now. You got a deep carry clip that goes actually a little bit past the butt end. It carries very well. It's lightweight. All of those things are good. It's WE, so you're going to have a good edge on it. I believe this is in 20 CV, but I can't be certain. Believe it is, though, because it's one of their more premium knives. I believe these are like around the $200, $240 mark. I don't know. I could be wrong. If I do a full review, I'll look into that. Ergos are good, very neutral. You can choke up here. You're not really into that blade at all. It feels pretty good. So that's the Miscreant 3. Interesting knife. Not for me per se, but Definitely cool. Oh, the action. The detent is very good. It's dialed very well. You can push button it. You can light switch it. Left-handed, right-handed, doesn't matter. In terms of shutting, it does have a lock bar insert and everything. It'll drop to your nail right there and just give it a couple shakes and she's down. This is after I obviously, fix the pivot. It is a rock, so there's not going anywhere, and it has good action. So definitely a solid offering. It's been out for a while. It's the Wii Miscreant 2. And we have the Serge Knife Co. EDC. This was loaned to me by my buddy Matt. Shout out to Matt. Yeah, this knife is very interesting in the aspect that if it were for a few changes, I would probably love this knife. If they took off one of these slabs on each side, right? Like if they thin this knife out, I don't understand it. Why not just use... Yeah, I don't know. It seems weird to me, but like if it was, one slab... Here, I'll try to show you because maybe you don't know what I'm talking about. There's 2 slabs of titanium on each side. See that? At least I'm pretty sure they're both titanium. So, sorry again. All right. So, 2 slabs on each side. So, if they thin that out to 1 slab on each side, it wouldn't be as thick. Which, it's not even that thick. Here's that Miscreant. Which is, a relatively thin knife. Here's the Skiff-made knife. It's thicker than that. Here's that Nomad I was talking about earlier. A lot thicker than that. Just for standard sort of knife, Finch. It's even thicker than that. It just feels a little bit thick and chunky, right? Quick look at it up close here. You have nice scales and everything. It's T6 on the hardware, which kind of sucks. Huge cutout right here. Very sort of, to me, Slim Midi-esque. There's your show side of the pivot. You have this weird sort of hump thing right here that I feel like could have either been turned into a front flipper or flattened out. There's your pivot screw. You just have a standard sort of spring clip that works really well. It doesn't, go, it doesn't have a ton sticking out. They did a good job with that. There's your standoffs, stop pin. Here's the spine of the blade. Here's the blade. Just a sort of simple clip drop point. Got your Serge Knife Co. logo there. You have a huge opening hole, which sort of is an issue. And then you have Serge Knife Co. N690. That's one of my complaints. And this is number 124. So, if they thinned it out, and if they had changed the steel to just something better, I don't care what you use as long as it's not N690 or D2. Like 14C28N, how about M390? This is a $200 knife. So I forgot to mention that. This is a $200 knife with N690 steel on it. Like, give me a break. Sorry. Maybe that won't be the most popular opinion, but like that, to me, it's unacceptable. And that's why I don't own one of these, obviously. Aside from the weight. And then this hole is just huge. Like, I get way too much finger in there, So maybe for somebody with big, chunky fingers, this is a good option, right? Just because it doesn't fit my finger doesn't mean it doesn't fit everybody else's, right? But that doesn't bother me so much. I could adjust to that if I own this knife. I can easily still pick it up and flick it out, right? No big deal. I do wish they gave you a little more access on this side because then, you could thumb flick it left-handed. The reverse flick right-handed would be a little easier to get into. But it is doable. The action is really good. The detent is spot on, and the closing action is absolutely fantastic. And this is, fresh out of the box, like no tuning of any kind, dead nut centered. So there's a lot of good things here. I love the look of the knife. I think it's a cool design. Again, Slim Midi sort of vibe on the handle for me. And then you have this really just unique blade. Yeah, I like it. I just wish it had those changes because it's so heavy. I should say, rather than it being thick, it's more about the weight that extra scale on each side adds, right? But as is, I mean, if you own one of these, I think you have a cool knife. I think it's a unique knife for sure. The name EDC is sort of an odd choice considering, you know, EDC, like, I don't know. I guess if you're only going to make one knife, okay. But if you're going to make more than one knife, you probably don't want to just name it the EDC. So your next knife isn't EDC related. I don't know. I'm just being a jackass. Sorry. But yeah, this is a cool knife. I think the build is well done by Real Steel. I think the tolerances are there. All of that is cool. I just think for $200, you got to give me some more. You know what I mean? And yeah, this would be cool to, you know, either front flip or just get rid of. I don't know. Does it do something? No, it doesn't do anything. So there's no point to that. This is kind of like when people complain about how the Slim Midi has the detent ball tracks, you know, outside of the handle. This is kind of similar. In my opinion, this is worse because it's just a weird looking angle and knob. I don't know. But anyway, that's the Serge Knife Co. EDC. And then last up, we have the Vandal. The TwoSun Vandal. This is a Love Them Knives design. Love Them Knives knife. And this thing is huge. So I would venture to guess it's a 4-inch blade. Here's that Subvert. If you guys know, I believe this is a 4-inch blade. And they are literally identical in size. So that's how big this thing is. Here is that EDC from Serge Knife Co. All right. And then we have, I'll grab that Nomad again since I've been using that a lot here. From Asher, which by the way, these should be dropping around Christmas. Get one. $96. It's the best EDC knife there is. For the price point. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, there's that. I think it's 3 1/4. So you can see it's got a big amount of blade on it, on this sucker. All right, that's enough comparison. TwoSun absolutely killed it with this button lock. It drops like it's hot, and they actually nailed the detent. I mean, it takes a bit of force to get it out of there. I mean, look at this. They actually found a way to put a detent on a button lock, and it works so freaking well. I really enjoyed this. This came from the Apex Pass-Around group, and I actually reached out to LTK right after the unboxing and asked if he still had some, because he was selling these during his time while he was on Women Carry Knives, during the 24-hour Knives Live 2021 for Knife Rights. And he was selling these for $139. And then he would donate $10 to Knife Rights if somebody bought one. Well, he still had some left. He had like 20 of them. He still had some left. And so he sold me one last night. I think it was $139. And yeah, I mean, it's just a cool freaking knife. And they nailed the button lock. You know, I actually had him send it directly to my brother Kyle, D2M Knives and Gear, because I have this one on loan. I might as well let him check that one out. And I told him if he really likes it, he could just buy it off me. But yeah, the pivot was walking when I got it. So what I did was, because this is a pass-around knife. Now, this Miscreant is as well, but it wouldn't work for this, so I Loctited this. But for this, I put it in an O-ring, and it fit in there perfectly. We're dead centered, and now it's, you know, locked up tight. Actually, there's a little bit of play, so maybe that O-ring is not working as well as I wanted it to. Yeah, it loosened a little bit already. Just such a big knife that, like, I think it just, you know, Yeah, now there's no play. Still dropped shut like a guillotine, but one thing I've learned is, so in the unboxing, I talked about how some people were complaining that you can't really flick this because it's smooth in the hole or in the fuller, and it is smooth in there. But I didn't really have a problem, and it's harder while I'm like sitting here on camera, but I just really shove my middle finger in there and then I push out. Like I kind of do it like I try to explain on the F5.5, where I don't do like a vertical flick. Like I don't do that when I open these F5.5s. You can, but it'll hurt. The detents are kind of strong and the angle is just weird. So what I do is, because it has a good detent, I just put my finger in the slot and then I push forward. And the detent alone, I build enough pressure that it just shoots out and it flies out and locks up every time. And that's how I operate in F5.5. And that works on this knife as well. You just put your finger in and push forward and it flies out. I also have noticed if you kind of slide your finger up towards the top of the slot, as you slide up, it catches and you'll fire it out. That works a lot more when I'm like over to the side, right? I can easily flick it vertically. I'm not using wrist or anything to flick it up. So it works really well for me personally, left-handed. Right-handed, I'm not right-handed, so it's harder for me to demonstrate this, but I can do it. You know, it's not like a big, I don't know. Maybe it is harder right-handed there. So I think it's just, if you were right-handed, you'd probably be fine. But anyway, I have had no issues with that. You can get in here and walk it out. It's a little bit harder because you can't really get too close to the scale because of how close the fuller is to the scale. I'm not the biggest fan of the patterns on here. So you have this mill pattern from TwoSun and then this inlay of just kind of basic carbon fiber, which is fine, but you know, it's not like something I'd prefer. This is also a thick knife. That's one thing I would change, is make it thinner. And then you just have a kind of standard knife, right? Drop point design. There's your clip. The clip is a little bit, it's not hard to get in pocket. It kind of doesn't want to get over the lip of your pants right away. You kind of got to like make sure you angle it in the right way. But once it goes in, it's fine. So let me zoom out. All right. So, again, detent on this is perfect. They actually nailed getting a detent. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, right-handed, I can't... Yeah. Maybe I can walk it out from down here. No, it's just hard. I don't know. Left-handed, I seem to be able to do it. And again, I am left-handed, so I don't know if that plays a factor. It probably does. You could choke up all the way up to here if you wanted to. I mean, I could literally two-hand this almost if I wanted to. It's big, but it's not like too... It is too big for me, probably, to want to like EDC or something. But somebody like Kyle Lanfear or Kyle DTOM, I think this is a really good option for them. You know, they'd have plenty of room on the handle to spread out, and it would just kind of feel like a normal size knife to those guys, I think. So I'm hoping that the reverse flick and everything works well for Kyle when he gets it. So we'll see. But yeah, I was very surprised that I liked this as much as I did. Here's a comparison. So you can see the Subvert. I mean, it's almost as thick as the Subvert. Here's this Drifter again. It's definitely substantially thicker than that. And lastly, I'll get the Asher Nomad out again. It's, you know, 2.5 Asher Nomads. So, it's a thick boy. So, anyway, but I really like it. It's just one of those knives that has spoken to me, you know. And that's kind of what happens. So, let's line them up. You got the LTK TwoSun Vandal. You have the Spyderco Subvert. You have the Skiff made Drifter. You have the Wee Knife Co. Hold on, let me do this in order, I guess, of size. You have the Serge Knife Co. EDC, and then you have the Wee Miscreant. So those are all the knives I just want to do some first impressions on. Thank you guys. Let me know what you think of all these knives. I didn't have super positive things to say about all of them, but I also had positive things to say about all of them except for the Subvert. I just hate that knife. So let me know what your thoughts are, if you agree or disagree. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. Much appreciated. Like the video. Hit the notification bell. Check out all the links in the description. I got discount codes to a bunch of places. It helps you, helps the channel. It's awesome. And make sure to check out Lefty Live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m., 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you guys there. And I love you all. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. And I will catch you later.